like men that I do trust, they've, very much sobered me up. Like, this is the most attractive that you're going to be. You are in your prime, and that's like not a really fun thing to hear.
What's up, guys? In this video I'm going to show you the difference between how feminists think attraction works and how attraction really works. Alright, so I randomly stumbled upon this debate on TripAdvice's channel. I found it very interesting because it gives you a behind-the-scenes look into the mind of a feminist and how they think attraction works. Now, this chick seems pretty nice, like she seems like a cool, reasonable girl, but I found her view of attraction very troubling. So let's kind of break this down and we'll analyze it step by step.
But like, if we could also go back to the point of like a woman's worth, like sexual worth, being at her prime in her 20s solely because of like her like fertility or like her like outward beauty, sexuality, that's actually not necessarily scientifically proven. It's very like Freudian. It's like very,
I mean, it's like pretty scientifically proven. Yeah, men are attracted to women who can bear them children. We're hardwired to have that, just like women are biologically attracted to men who are tall, right? Because it means more safety, whatever reason, better genetics for the kid. So yeah, I mean, this is like a very postmodernist argument that, it's not scientifically proven that men really like younger, more fertile women. No, it's pretty well proven.
Socially constructed.
Is it?
It is.
Why do you think it is? I feel like a lot of men would find, I mean, if we just took a poll, and of course there's always exceptions. And,
yes.
And if we took a woman who's 25 years old, like, okay, let's even do this. If we took a picture of you right now, you're 25, and then you're 35, most men would want to sleep with or date, whatever you want to say, the 25-year-old version of you. Just like me. I bet you that most women would look at a picture of me when I was 25 and when I was 35 and probably find the 35-year-old person more attractive than the 25-year-old.
Okay.
So for men, it is a little different. I would wager to say that most women would find the 32-year-old version of me more attractive than the 22-year-old version of me. Sure, I had more hair, but aside from that, my style wasn't as defined. I didn't have any facial hair. I didn't have any muscle, and I just kind of lacked that confidence. If you look at my pictures when I was in my early 20s, I just look awkward. Like, I just have the sense that I don't belong. Now I'm a lot more confident and dominant. So I think for men, it's a little different, but for women, absolutely.
Okay. See,
I would think that would be the case. What do you think, though?
I don't fully agree. I also think that we're in a renaissance of sorts when it comes to like social construction and like how people are viewing one another. Because I just think that like with the deconstruction of the patriarchy and like why is a woman more attractive at 25? Is it because of like the like absence of wrinkles? Is it because of...
Yeah, that's one.
Right, but it's like, and then let's go into why are wrinkles unattractive?
Because it's a sign of age and it's a sign of fertility.
Right, but like I said, like if there is research that like that's not an...
I mean, like, I really don't think you need a lot of double-blind placebo-controlled studies to show that men prefer younger women. Like, that's a pretty well-established fact. And, like, to argue against that is just, frankly, very silly. That's like arguing against, men don't like girls, generally speaking, with big tits. Sure, there's some men who don't like that, but most men, generally speaking, prefer big tits, big booties, and they prefer younger women, right? Again, there's exceptions, but to argue against that and saying, there's not enough studies or research for that, that's like saying, there's not enough studies to show that gravity is real. Like, what? Like, it's a pretty well-established fact.
Accurate barometer of a woman's fertility, then it kind of circles back around to like a very like patriarchal point of view of just like...
But I still think it's...
It's extremely disingenuous to claim that, this attraction for younger women is based out of patriarchy. No, this really has to do with our genetics and how we're hardwired. Like, we're hardwired to be attracted to fertile women, right? Because that increases the likelihood of us, reproducing, having healthy offspring, right? So for example, like a woman is way more likely to have issues with pregnancy as she gets older. Like, it's a lot safer for a woman who's 22 to have children than it is for a woman who's 42, right? And again, this biology is on the side. I'm not saying women who are older shouldn't try to have kids, but biology very directly supports this idea that, younger women are better designed for procreation. And when I say younger, I mean over 18, of course.
You're saying that's like, then you're saying that when you say patriarchal point of view, is this kind of like a nature versus nurture thing?
No, I mean the patriarchy is like constructed by like cisgender straight wealthy white men.
Anyone who uses cisgendered wealthy white man in a sentence, it just immediately makes me want to roll my eyes, because it's like such a like a social justice warrior feminist argument. Like, come on.
Essentially. So, I mean, I think that it kind of all has to go back to like power. And like when a woman is, you know, what does the absence of wrinkles mean? It means that she's younger. What does younger mean? Younger means that she's weaker. What does weaker mean? Weaker means that you're stronger than her. So it's like almost like I said, like a power struggle. So like I'm kind of diving deep here, but
and this is the crux of it. This is how she thinks attraction really works. She thinks that men want chicks in their early 20s instead of chicks in their early 40s because of power, because we can control them and manipulate them. And that is a very, very troubling view of attraction. Very, very troubling. Because it suggests that we men are all predators, which again is something I see the hardcore feminists arguing, but it's really not correct. Like, I don't think you have to be a scientist to understand that men are biologically wired to be attracted to fertile women, and it has nothing to do with power. It simply has to do with reproduction. Like, we're hardwired. It's the same reason men, generally speaking, are hardwired to be attracted to girls with big asses, right? Because this is just big hips, and it means she's less likely to have problems with rearing children, right? Like, a lot of this stuff is hardwired into us.
This has just been my personal experience, because I am 25 and I am, you know, even by like my family and like men that I do trust, they've, you know, very much sobered me up. Like, this is the most attractive that you're going to be. Like, you are in your prime, you know, and that's like not a really fun thing to hear.
And this gets to the heart of it. So where does it stem from? Fear. She is afraid that right now, you know, after her, it's basically downhill, which is a very troubling thing, I admit, for a woman to, you know, come to terms with. But it is, you know, an unfortunate reality. Like, for a woman in her mid-20s, her sexual market value will probably never be higher than it is now. The only way it could be is if she's obese in her early 20s and then she loses weight, right? Then her sexual market value could go up. But aside from that, aside from her getting like big tits and big ass, even that can only take you so far. Like, yeah, your sexual market values is at its peak in your early to mid 20s. It's an uncomfortable reality, but to deny that and think that, oh, this is not just because of, you know, how biology works. This is just men being hungry for power. That's very, very troubling view of sexuality and attraction, right? So let's talk about how attraction really works. Attraction is hardwired into us. It is absolutely not a social construct, right? Like, that's just such a silly notion. Now, there's elements of culture into it, but it's a small element. Largely, it's hardwired into us. That is why women are hardwired to be attracted to men who are taller, to men who have status, right? And we men, we're hardwired to be attracted to girls with, you know, big hips and, generally speaking, younger women. So it is what it is. Now that begs us to the second question. Okay, well, a woman's value goes down as she gets older. To what extent? And I would say, I guess this could be comforting for the female viewers. It's really, even when your value goes down, you'll still have a way easier time than men. So a woman who, you know, let's say she was pretty in her early 20s and then she ages, but she takes somewhat decent care of herself. In her late 30s, she'll still have way more sway in the sexual marketplace than a man at his peak, right? Like, the sexual marketplace is so skewed in the woman's favor. Like, a chick who just does a reasonable job of taking care of herself, just like doesn't get fat, you know, could still have like so many options in her late 30s, early 40s, even late 40s. Right? Like, she can still have so many options on Tinder, at bars, really in any type of sexual marketplace. And that leads us to the next thing. What about men? Does their value go up or does it go down? And for men, it's a little different. Now, I think in the Red Pill community, talk about, oh, you know, men age like fine wine. They hit their peak in their late 30s. Is that true? Right? And the truth is not so clear. A man's value does typically go up, but only only if he does the work and takes care of himself, which most men do not do. So most men actually hit their peak in around college years, like early 20s, and then they just go down. So 95% of people you went to high school with, their sexual marketplace, sexual market value will only go down with age. However, the men that take good care of themselves, they stay in shape, they put out muscle, they don't get fat, they eat good so their skin doesn't look like shit, they don't have a bunch of weird wrinkles and weird skin conditions, and they work on building up their status, their financial success, their value will go up. But I think it's less so with age, it's more about what you build. So the big difference is women's sexual value largely is given to them, right? Like it just comes with your looks. And all you have to do is keep your looks, stay in shape, blah, blah, blah. For men, part of it is your looks, that's for sure, but part of it is also built. And that's, what kind of reputation you have, what kind of personal brand you develop, how much you increase your net worth and your status and all those factors. And a man could actually hit his sexual peak in his early 20s, in his mid 20s, in his late 20s, in his early 30s, in his early 40s. It really just comes down to when he is going to be at his peak of accomplishment, when he's going to be riding that momentum wave. And for some guys, like for example, let's take Justin Bieber, unless he really keeps crushing it with his fucking music, he's probably going to hit his peak in his, early 20s, mid 20s. Like so many women want to sleep with him now, right? But that's again, because he started singing very young in age, right? So he really reached his, peak when it comes to fame, again, like early 20s, right? Someone like that. But for other guys, let's take Leonardo Dicaprio. He wasn't really on the radar until he was in his mid to late 20s, right? And for some men, it's not going to be until the late 30s. So for a woman, yes, your sexual peak is going to be somewhere between the age of 18 and let's just say 24, 25. But the good news is if you take care of yourself, it's still going to stay high. For men, it just really comes down to when you put in the work and when you get to your peak accomplishments. All right, hopefully you guys found this video valuable and shows that you understand how attraction works by smashing the like button, hitting subscribe, and clicking that bell for notification. We're coming up on 100,000 subs and we can get there with your help. So please, if you enjoyed this content, consider sharing it with a friend. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time.